What's going on YouTube? I just wanted to make another quick video here for you today. We ran a bunch of Dunes maps on stream. We went with 28, similar to the cemetery strat, just to kind of keep it consistent. And kind of the reasoning behind that is, typically the average person, someone who's hanging out with the fam or whatever the case is, isn't going to have time to run much more than that over the course of 2 to 3 day span, right? If you've only got 2-3 hours a night, 28 maps is a little more appropriate. We tried 100 on Crimson Temple and stuff like that, and it was a bit of a slog even for me, who gets to play a lot. So I felt like 28 maps is a good, it's in increments of 4. So it's a decent size to get a good idea of how much loot you're going to get out of it, and a reasonable amount for the average person to be able to get done in a reasonable amount of time, right? So we went ahead and we ran Dunes 28 times. We juiced up the maps, not super crazy, but we did some 8 mods. We tried to keep them 8 mods, but I roll my maps myself. So whatever we could get, we tried to keep the quant above about 100. So anything around 100 is pretty appropriate. And it was good, honestly. The loot was it's fast, right? So Dunes you can get done really really quickly. It's a little bit faster than Cemetery, I would say. The Cemetery loot turned out to be a little bit better. I would think, just simply because it has better div cards, right? So on Dunes, you're farming the Fortunate, which is 12 cards for 2 divines. They drop far more often than Brother's Gift, Brother's Stash, things like that. But it just doesn't amount to quite as much, right? It was a lot of fun, but let's get into like what we were actually using here. So we went ahead and we initially started with gilded divination scarabs. I felt like they weren't very beneficial on that map, so we ended up moving about halfway through to rusted divination scarabs. And for this particular strat, I think you're okay going a little cheaper, and that is one of the benefits that it has over Crimson Temple and Cemetery, because Cemetery you're going to be, if possible, using gilded. With this, I honestly think you're better off saving a little bit of currency and running rusted. I didn't see much of a difference because we're trying to farm the Fortunates, and about the same dropped. It's about 1 to 2 per map. With just rusted. So I would say, if you can afford it and you're balling or whatever, then go ahead and go gilded. But if not, rusted is just fine for this strategy. We used gilded ambush because, again, the more you can do, the better. If you can only afford rusted or whatever, that's fine. You'll be okay. If you can afford ambush, that's even better. We use polished legion scarabs. You do not want to use the gilded, because you don't, especially if you're running magic find. If you're not on magic find, you'll be fine with gilded, just because you don't really want the generals, right? Like, it just kind of slows you down a little bit. That you'll take some deaths on magic find, stuff like that. So it's just a little bit better running the polished legion. And then lastly, Gilded Reliquary. This you could swap out, if you prefer Tormented Spirits, or maybe even Cartography, or even, you could go with Rusted Elder. So, but this is what we ran, and it worked out pretty well. As far as Sextants, we ran Legion Encounter, +2 strong boxes, Mirror of Delirium, and then Beyond. And it was good. As far as our map device, we were using Legion, so we were just adding another Legion encounter, and that's what we ran on our map device. So that that felt real good. And you get a lot of Legion. They're kind of spread out all over the place. Really good for headhunter. Otherwise, it's just a ton of boxes and a ton of loot and incubators and stuff like that. I mean, we've been stacking, a ton of incubators from Cemetery and Dunes, and here's the loot that we got out of it. It was pretty good. We got a lot of good stuff. We got a double Aegis drop. Some maps. Some random uniques. We got a couple really good div cards. Level 4 Enlighten, level 4 Empower, and then a Divine Beauty. We got a Screaming Invitation out of it, and then we actually got 26 fortunate cards. So it's about one per map is what it averages out to, a little bit under. So it's pretty good, and you get those divines. I took them out already. We had 3 raw divines in here, and then as you can see, it's just a ton of like chaos, and you got a bunch of emblems and random div cards and stuff like that. You'll get a few sets of Imperial Legacy. So this strat's going to be really, really good if you're earlier on in your character. If you're super, super like juiced farming and ready to really like juice it up, I would recommend going to Cemetery or Crimson Temple for those 2 strats that I dropped. But this one's really good, really fast, fun, it's easy, and the currency is pretty good, right? So just kind of break it down. It was about this investment now is lower than that of Cemetery and much lower than that of Crimson Temple. And so we came out with about 36 divines. This tab, again, I've pulled a couple things out of there that I use, divines and stuff like that. But it was 36 divines total for the 28 maps. We had about 11 divine investment because we initially started, like I said, with the gilded, and then we moved to the rusted. If you go pure rusted, which again I would recommend, then you'll be at about a 10 divine investment for 28 maps to run these, and then you'll come out with about a 26 divine profit. We came out with about a 24 divine profit. So still really, really good, right? It took a few hours. We're doing other stuff on stream and having fun and doing all that kind of stuff, so we were slowed down a little bit. But you could probably, if you just really put your head down and did it, you could probably do this in 3.5 hours, something like that. So the return is good. As you can see, the fortunates, 4.5 divines worth of fortunates, 3 raw divines, 124 stacked decks, it's about 2 divines, and then just a bunch of incubators, increased effect, flask effect duration. It was item level 84, so, that's worth about, a little over a divine. Chaos, we got 1.2 divine worth of chaos, 288. So yeah, I mean, it was good. The loot was really good. We got a couple replica dragon fangs, none of them that were crazy, just kind of the standard ones, but they go in at about 50C a piece. Wing scarabs, stuff like that. Couple simulacrum, uh, invitations, whatever you want to call them. So loot was really good, and a lot of it is sellable. Sometimes on some of these strategies, when you kind of do this breakdown, you're like, yeah, okay, but how much of it can you sell? I think a lot, the essences and emblems and stuff like that. Like if you were to sell stuff in bulk, a lot of this stuff is sellable, and the raw currency was good, and definitely one that I'll do again, maybe next league, a little bit earlier on, maybe as I transition into Crimson Temple. I still think personally Crimson Temple is the best one, even if some people like to alch and go. I like to really, really juice them up, because the currency and the things that are dropping as far as the small stuff, it's all about the same regardless of what map you're going to run on. If you're running a tree with certain scarabs and all that kind of stuff, the small stuff's going to be pretty similar. But I typically tend to like to farm for some of the bigger ticket items and things like that. So apothecary, 7 years bad luck, brother's gift, stuff like that. So I tend to lean more towards those because of those big ticket items. Even though they drop less often, when they do, they really take up your divine per hour. And again, the apothecary is rare, but they do drop, and if you farm enough, you will hit one, and that will, no matter how long you've been farming it, it will take you your divines per hour up exponentially, right? That's just how that it works. They're rare, but they're worth so much, especially this league, that it makes a huge difference if you can drop one, right? So this is a great strategy, especially if you're in the low 90s and you're trying to get your farming up and get some stuff going so that you can really min max gear. Your gear's feeling good and your build feels good, but you're just trying to get those those last few items or whatever the case is. This is a great strategy to do that, and super fast and efficient and easy. The map is really easy. If you like boss rushing, it's really easy to just rush straight to the boss. If you don't, you can just clear the map and kind of do it at your own pace, whatever. But the loot felt really, really good. So let's go over the tree now. So here's the tree that we were using, and it's very similar to that of Cemetery. I mean, you could kind of farm them both. It's interchangeable, between these two. So, you don't, if you were going to go back and forth and you wanted to run the two to kind of mix it up, like you could leave the tree exactly the same, essentially run the exact same uh, sextants and scarabs and all that kind of stuff. And basically we just, we roll up, we take the strongbox stuff, more strongbox. We use singular focus just because, I don't need the other maps. I don't run the other maps. When I do plan on doing it, I'll just go buy them if I decide to do another strat. But then we take obviously all the quantity and the rarity. We take all the increased effective mods, the strongbox stuff here, and then Legion, right? So we have all the Legion here, for the pillaged treasures and the logistical support. And then we take war supplies. We take Maraketh and Templar. Then we come over here and take emblematic. You can, depending on what you're working with. Maybe if you don't want the beyond stuff, you can come down here and take protracted battle, which feels pretty good. I typically prefer to go with the beyond stuff because I'm on headhunter. But if you're not on headhunter, you might want to maybe lose one of these and then work it down into this. You could also, if you're not using headhunter, or even if you are, typically on headhunter you're going to want all the beyond stuff. But if you're not using it, maybe if you're on Biscos or you're just on a regular build, which will be fine for this strategy, you might be better off taking the tormented spirit stuff. And then losing some of these, right? And then, maybe if you want to, work some of these beyond points into, more maps or things like that, you'll be okay. But this is the tree that we used for this strategy. Felt really good, like I said. And I definitely will be doing it more next league early on just because the currency is just so good and so fast and it's very efficient. You just don't really have you don't have those chase items, right? Like those big div cards and stuff like that are available, unless you're dropping them out of an altar or something like that, right? But inherently the map itself doesn't have anything more than the fortunate, which again does add up. We dropped 26 of them or whatever, so that's what four, a little over 4 divines just right there, and then plus the 3 that we dropped, so about seven or 8 raw divines, something like that, in 28 maps. And then all the other stuff, divine, a little over a divine in chaos and all that. So again, it feels real good. As far as gear, we're pretty juiced as MF, but this isn't necessarily an MF strategy. I think this will work just fine with just a normal build. You're just trying to min max, get a little money quickly. This will be great for you. And that's it. So if you're curious about the cemetery strat and how that went down, there's a video from a few days ago. I'll put it in the description. It's very similar tree. It's a little bit more expensive because we do want to end up using the gilded divination for sure on that map. When here, like I said previously, I honestly would recommend just going with rusted. It didn't feel any different than the gilded personally. And then all the other scarabs are the same, and so are the sextants. So this will save you a decent amount. As you can see, these are 4 chaos apiece, and these are about 23. I mean, it says 20, but they're about 23. So there's a huge difference there, right? So if you're running 28 maps, 4 per map versus 23 per map, because it's about 10 per divine to buy the gilded. So there's a massive difference right there, and you'll save a lot of money doing that and not notice much of a difference. So I would recommend that. But and again, as far as the strategy goes, you can run straight to the boss. You can kill everything and then kill the boss last like you normally would. It kind of just depends on how you prefer to run. A lot of people prefer to run straight to the boss so that they don't get any altars that are related to the boss. I personally don't mind because, again, I've talked about it in other videos and people seem to really dislike this, but I chase the divine altars. So I'll take a boss divine altar. I'll take a minion divine altar. I don't care. So I just, for whatever reason, I love that, and that's one of the things that I kind of want to try to chase down. So if you're not interested in the boss divine altar, it is very rare. The chances of getting it are very unlikely, but it's just something that I like to do. So if that doesn't interest you, then you might be better off just running straight to the boss so you can remove all those boss altars. And but again, that's up to you how you run it. It didn't seem, I did do about half of them boss rushing and half of them not, and I didn't notice much of a difference again. So I personally don't think it makes a huge difference. But yeah, the map's super simple. It's super clean. You just kind of run through. It's honestly a little bit faster, like I said, than Cemetery, and it's definitely faster than Crimson Temple to clear and to loot and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, guys, let me know. I mean, that's about it. I just wanted to keep it quick. That's it for the strategies that I typically run. So if you guys have one, I'd love to try something new, something that maybe you guys have been doing that you feel is successful. Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to make a video on it and just kind of see how it feels. I don't know if you guys, maybe some harvest stuff or whatever it is that you guys have been doing. Let me know. Maybe some sanctum stuff, whatever you want to see, and then if we get some comments down below, with some cool strategies or some cool ideas or something like that, then we'll give it a go and we'll make a video and we'll compare it to these other ones. But again, just to kind of sum it up, I think that this is the fastest, most efficient of the three that I've done. I think that Cemetery kind of lands right in the middle of Crimson Temple um, and Dunes. So it's faster than Crimson Temple, but it's not as fast as Dunes. The money's a little bit better than Dunes, just simply because of the div cards. And then you get to Crimson Temple, which is a little bit slower. But in the end of the day, if you're going to be running a bunch of maps, and you're going to get in 50 to 100 maps, whatever, for over the course of a week, or you have a lot of time, I still think Crimson Temple is king. It just a lot of people I think are gonna argue with me on this one, but Crimson Temple just goes really hard. It just is a big investment for it to be successful. But again, the middle ground, maybe even the best, is Cemetery, just because you have the speed of Dunes to some extent, and then you have closer loot to Crimson Temple, right? So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys have been running. I appreciate all the support. Love you guys. Like and subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Come check out the stream. We've been streaming Monday through Friday pretty much all day. So if you have questions or you want to come see what we're up to, if what the loot's looking like for the day, whatever the case is, come stop by and say what up. And I really appreciate you guys, and have a good one. Peace out.